Previously on Trick Shift Garage. As long as you don't touch the other line, you'll be fine. I said don't touch it, and now it's broken. Alright, well stay tuned for next week when I show you how to replace all of your IWE vacuum lines. This should get interesting. Welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to do my best to show you how to replace those IWE vacuum lines in my 2013 F150. This is going to be pretty straightforward, so let's jump right in. So here's the vacuum line that broke in the last couple of videos. You could probably jerry-rig this, but since I already replaced the IWEs as well as the check valve and the solenoid, I figured it would be a good idea to get new vacuum lines in there so the whole IWE operating system is brand new. Now the new vacuum lines are one unit, so there is no need to worry about replacing parts of it in different areas. I would highly advise you start at the bottom on the passenger side, then work your way over. I feel like this gives you more room to maneuver around everything. First, let's take a look at the route the old vacuum lines take. The lines go right under the master cylinder. Now jump onto the other side and you will see it split into two different lines. One side goes down to the driver's side IWE and the other goes the opposite way because it will eventually connect to the passenger side IWE. As we continue to follow that line, you can see it goes underneath your ABS control module right here. This is where the line turns left and heads towards the passenger side of your vehicle. Keep moving along and you can kind of see it sticking out right there in front of the oil filter. Now this section is going to be hard because there are more obstacles in the way, like your upper radiator hose and AC line. But if we peek between the two, you can see the IWE line running along the frame right there. Let's move above those lines and keep following it. As you can see, it runs directly above the shock tower and it's secured with this white clip to prevent it from moving around. There are actually a ton of white and black clips throughout the IWE hose that keep it in place, and you will find that out shortly. Alright, now go ahead and grab your new hose and begin removing the tape that keeps it together. It should unwrap fairly easily, and there should be two pieces of tape, one's green and the other's orange. Here's the hose laid out. You want to make sure the end that splits into two parts is going to go on the driver's side of your vehicle. This is the end that pushes into your IWE solenoid. And here's a good look at those clips. There are a ton of them all around the hose, which makes sense because you don't want this hose flapping around while you are driving and then possibly catching on to something it's not supposed to. Now I was about to try to fish this hose through the driver's side first, but I had second thoughts. Getting this whole harness through the driver's side was going to be more difficult from my point of view. So I decided it was a better idea to go through the passenger side instead. Alright, now the whole trick to this process is to follow the old harness with the new one and do not release any of the clips on the old one until you are ready to push the new one into place. I'll show you a few examples throughout this replacement. Oh, and since we are starting on the passenger side, please remember to use the end of the harness that goes with that side. The end that has a split needs to go to the driver's side. Got it? Good. Now you can fish the proper end down like I am doing right here. This is the part of the harness that connects directly to the IWE. Do you see this white clip? This one plugs into the top of the shock tower, as you can see the old one right here. So now you know you have enough of the harness down here and you can begin fishing the other end in this direction. However, you shouldn't just start pushing the driver's side end down without seeing what route the old harness took. Once you figure that out, you can start feeding the line in the same direction. I did mistakenly route this part of the harness at first, and you will see that in a little bit. Be careful when putting it through, as it will snag on anything and everything and you don't want to break any of those clips. Eventually you can move under your vehicle and pull it the rest of the way. If you do feel it snag on something, get off the ground, get back under the hood and unhook it from where it's being held up. Alright, once you are ready, you can begin the swap. When looking at the new harness, you will notice there are two white clips in the area above that shock tower. One goes here and the other goes here on the opposite end of the tower. There is also a black clip that pushes into the upper control arm housing right here. You can see the other one poking out there. I'll get to that in a little bit, but I want to get those white clips installed first since it's right up top. These are going to be a little tough to remove, so grab yourself a panel removal tool and release those clips. I grabbed my pliers thinking this would do just fine. While they did eventually work, I decided to go back inside and grab my panel removal tool. Now this worked perfectly on the black clip right here. However, the white clip was still being stubborn, as you can see me struggle with it. Eventually, it broke off and the harness was free from the shock tower. I did not get this on camera, but if you need to remove the other part of the white clip that broke off, you can just push it through with a pair of pliers or something else like a screwdriver. The broken clip will just fall to the ground. Alright, now we can pause with removing the old harness and start installing that new harness. I found it easier to start with the black clip first, so maneuver the harness around and then push the clip through the hole right here. Perfect. Now both white clips should be lined up and you can push them right into the two holes at the top of the shock tower. And this is what it should look like. The black clip goes there. followed by a white clip right here, and then the other white clip right here. As you can see, it follows the line of the old harness perfectly, and now we can disconnect the end of the old line that feeds right into the IWE. You can access the line without removing your wheel since this is a truck. Here's the black clip on the new line, followed by both white clips. As you can see, the old vacuum line broke right here, which isn't surprising given how easily it broke around the IWE solenoid. So go ahead and unclip the line from the bracket right here. You should be able to just pull it straight out. Now grab your new line and push the clip in, but make sure it's the right one since there's another clip just like it closer to the other end, which we will get to in a second. Once I get the flashlight turned on to give myself some more light, I will be able to show you that clip. There we go. Now I already removed the old clip, as you can see here, and the bracket is actually above these lines. You can see it right there. Now the new harness needs to connect to the IWE on the other side towards the front of the vehicle. So go ahead and push it forward. Let's push the clip into the bracket and get ready to connect the IWE. This part of the harness should just pull off of the IWE with a little bit of force, just like that. Take note, there are two different size lines that go right into the IWE. And from my understanding, one is a vacuum and the other is a vent. So this prevents you from plugging in the wrong sides. Go ahead and push the new line onto the IWE and then we can move on. Alright, so far so good. We have this part done, so let's get back under the hood and continue. Still on the passenger side of my truck, you can see both the old and new lines next to each other. If you look down a little farther, you will notice something is not quite right. So the new line runs over top of the factory harness right here, and the old one runs behind it. Remember, you need to make sure the new line runs exactly where the old line is. This will prevent the line from interfering with other parts of your engine. When we get under the vehicle, you can see it runs directly behind that harness and has a black clip that needs to be plugged into the cross member. You will have a difficult time trying to connect that clip if you ran it over top of the bigger factory harness. So what we need to do is pull the new line back up through the engine bay and then make sure this time we follow the old line perfectly. I'll do my best to show you exactly how I'm doing this, but it's a little difficult to get the right camera angles due to the tight spaces. Alright, let's just take a look at our progress so far. As you can see, the new line needs to go to the left of both of these factory harnesses and then push down towards the ground. Let's continue, but this time we can get underneath and start pulling the line through. Alright, make sure you are being careful as this will most likely get snagged on something kind of like that. Have some patience, get back under the hood and free the line. You may need to go from the ground to under the hood multiple times, which is fine. If you have a second person around, they can help feed you the line so you don't have to constantly jump up and down. Once the new line is pulled through and there isn't any more slack, you can continue. Remember, you want to do this in sections where you remove a clip or two of the old line and then immediately push in the clips on the new line. This will ensure the new line goes in the correct place. I was fighting with one of the older clips for quite a while before it finally came out. Here you will see me push the new clip into the hole that was being a pain. Alright, let's move on and get under my truck. As you can see, both of the lines run right behind those factory harnesses. The old line then proceeds across the front of the truck right here. So, just like before, go ahead and unclip part of the old line and then push in the new clip in its place. Just like that. While you are trying to get the new line behind this harness, try to be careful while pulling the harness out. I broke the white tab right here and now the harness is a little too loose. That can easily be fixed with a zip tie though, so don't worry if you have the same issue. Okay, so while being under my truck, this little splash shield kept getting in my way. So in order to give myself some more room, I'm going to remove it, and I recommend you guys do it as well. It's held in with two nuts and they are 15mm. You are going to need a deep socket like this for those nuts. Once they are removed, the shield should just drop down. Go ahead and move it out of the way so we can continue. That's a lot more open than before. After you get everything buttoned up on the bottom, you will want to pull the new line up between the coolant hoses and the frame like this. You will slowly start pulling the line over to the driver front IWE in sections over time while removing the old line little by little. Now if you look at the frame behind the driver's side front tire, you can see the old line right here. This is secured with a fastener. Go ahead and remove it with your pry tool. And then insert the correct fastener into its place. Again, make sure you use the correct one or else the line won't reach the IWE. Now you need to feed the new line up and over the shock tower. This is what it should look like at this point. And now we can remove the old line from the bottom of this clip and then run our new line through it. Perfect. That's exactly how it should look. Let's follow the old line and see where to remove it. You can see it splits right here. One end goes down to the IWE and the other travels up to the IWE solenoid. Let's plug in the rubber elbow in the solenoid first. Just pull it gently underneath of the master cylinder and then push it onto the solenoid right here. Perfect. Now let's get the rest of it into place before plugging into our IWE. Looking at the new line, you will see this clip right here. This goes here. It's pushed into the shock tower with the clip on the back. Now you could remove the old one and then push this on in its place. However, I'm just going to remove the new one. Then I just pulled the old line out of its place and inserted the new line. This will prevent you from fighting with that clip. And honestly, these don't really wear out like the lines do. So it's really not that big of a deal to reuse the old one, but that's up to you. Alright, now getting back behind the driver tire, you need to remove this clip right here. So grab your panel removal tool and pry it out. Now you can pull the old line out of the way. Then grab your new line and push the clip in. Just like that. Proceed to the next clip, unhook it with your panel removal tool. And then once it's out of the way, go ahead and push in that new clip. Remove the old line from this bracket, which mine was already disconnected. At this point, just go ahead and pull the old line towards the front. Then push in the new line the same way since the IWE connection is towards the front of the vehicle. Push the last clip into place. Now you can pull the old rubber end off of the IWE. And finally, push the new line directly onto the IWE, keeping in mind there are two different size openings. That's all there is to it. If you found any part of this video helpful or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss a video from our channel. Thanks for watching and we'll see you on the next one.